Hello there. What is going on, everybody? I wanted to do a live stream today and talk a little bit about the rise of Skywalker, all the negative reviews that have come out about it so far. And this is just kind of an impromptu. Let me adjust. I'm going to adjust things a little bit here. Kind of fix this up a little bit because I'm in the garage today. I was doing some painting. And, oh my goodness. There we go. That's a little bit better. And yeah, well, somebody goes, it's probably bad. Don't lie. It very well may be. So I saw like some negative reviews, and I'm like, okay, this is probably just people who went in there that were determined to hate the movie before they went in there. And then I saw a lot of people that already were like people that were like loyal fans and people that said, hey, I love, Last Jedi and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, like from some of the most devout fans, I've seen the types of reviews that say, well, as long as you enjoyed it, I guess that's good enough, and if you had a good time, that's all that matters, and things like that. And so I was like, wait a second, that sounds really bad. I've seen a lot of reviews that said disappointing. And so I have to put some things in perspective, and I haven't seen it yet. I'll see it in a few hours. You can look for maybe a review either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how it goes. I'll probably do a first reaction view, see it again this weekend. I'm going to probably wait for like a full review until after seeing it multiple times, because I've heard some people. I had the same thing with The Last Jedi. Is multiple viewings, I was able to process it all and kind of have more of I think, a review that I was a little more proud of. Like, my opinion on Last Jedi currently is that it's a great movie. It has flaws. It has some serious flaws. It has some things it does seriously well, and that it's a fantastic movie, but in a microcosm. Like, if it was by itself, if it was a standalone Star Wars film, it would be great. But my problem with The Last Jedi is that Rian Johnson was kind of put into the middle of it and he didn't really pay off the questions that were kind of set up in episode 7, at least not well enough, not in a satisfying way. Now, I would love to see if Rian Johnson could do his own entire trilogy. I'd love to see how that turns out. But like, I feel like doesn't play well with others as kind of like the theme there. At least that's kind of my opinion. Now, putting that aside, I still enjoy The Last Jedi. I think it does some things very, very well. It may even be one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It may be my number one. It's kind of tied, because Empire Strikes Back is great, but I also really love Return of the Jedi because it was the first one I saw. But Rogue One is really awesome too. So there's there's really some tough choices in there, and that's a good problem to have. But I mean, seeing so many people who were huge Star Wars fans come away disappointed, there's a little part of me that was kind of expecting a Avengers Endgame style ending from Rise of Skywalker. Like, there's so much fan service that I wanted to see that they did in Endgame. And maybe, I think what we need to do before we go and see it is, I think we need to manage our expectations. Don't expect something like Avengers Endgame. Expect something like Iron Man 2, or something like that. And then maybe you'll be like, oh, okay. From what I hear, it's not terrible. It's just that I think what people were expecting, like this super epic finale, and they just kind of get an average finale. And I think that's kind of my expectation. It's just going to be an average movie, and people wanted a lot more from this film. But even if you go see it, and even if you're disappointed, there's still a lot of hope, because hey, it's not over yet, because we got The Mandalorian right now. And Star Wars is still a really good spot, and I think it's super important. And I'm gonna get to some of the comments here in just a minute. There's a lot of comments. I can't get to all of them right now, so give me a second. And if you leave a super chat, I promise you I'll get to it. But it's super important to consider that right now we have so much good stuff happening in Star Wars. There's even like a mystery series that is going to be supposedly being announced in 2020. Some people think that that's the Cassian Andor series, but they've already announced that, so I don't see how that would be the mystery series. You've got Obi-Wan coming out, who's being directed by Deborah Chow, her episodes of Mandalorian have been freaking amazing. So there's really, really good Star Wars coming right now. Think about where we were 10 years ago. Okay, we had the prequels. We had Clone Wars. Clone Wars was just about done. You know, you had Star Wars Detours that was kind of coming out. You know, you had like a drop of new Star Wars here and there, a drop of new Star Wars. We're getting a lot of Star Wars right now. So here is the thing: if you don't like this movie, well, that's okay because there's so much other. It's like you're at a buffet, and you're like just focused on the macaroni and cheese. And the macaroni and cheese may not be good. Maybe they made it with Velveeta, and we all know, I'm sorry, you need to put some real cheddar in your mac and cheese. You can't just do Velveeta. I'm not a Velveeta guy, all right? But you've also got fried chicken, and you've got steak, and you've got shrimp, and you've got broccoli, and you've got like a different type of broccoli, you know, and you've got like broccoli soup, you know, my point is you've got a lot of different stuff. There's Star Wars for all. Like, I'm not a big fan of Star Wars Resistance. I bought the whole second season on iTunes, and I haven't even watched the last 3 episodes yet. Like, I just don't care. Like, I'll get to it with the kids maybe this weekend. Um, and yes, so there is a comment. Jedi Fallen Order also has a follow up. Jedi Fallen Order was actually a pretty good game. It was a little short for my liking. I probably need to go back and try and like complete it at 100% or something like that. But it was a pretty good game. I would love to see more. I would love to see more of an open world aspect to it, because granted, they kind of boasted it was open world or whatever. But my point is, there's a lot of great Star Wars right now. And I think some of the best is the stuff that's taking place in the Galactic Civil War time frame, and yeah, so maybe that's a direction that they'll go. I think there's future for like Thrawn and Ezra. And I think there's a future for all of these things. And of course, again, we're gonna have to see what happens in Episode 9. If there's a future for the sequel trilogy timeline stuff, if there's a future for some of those characters, I don't know. I know that there's certain things that I am hoping to see, and I should probably minimize those hopes. But here's the things that I was hoping to see in Episode 9. And we'll see, like, check back with my review afterwards. Epic space battle. I think that one's a safe bet. I think you're going to see an epic space battle. I want that because that's going to fuel my gaming. You can see, right? I've got a lot of games. I'm a big gamer. I want epic space battles so grand they inspire multiple games. I want X-Wing Armada to be inspired by it. I want entire new games. I want like a Rebellion 2.0. I want, I want whole new levels of board gaming that like kind of spawn as a result of this, right? Look at Return of the Jedi. Like, how many games did the space battles in that game kind of inspire? Freaking mountains and mountains of games. So as long as the epic space battle is good, that's one thing that I really want. I also want fan service as it applies to older characters. In my ideal world, I would take almost every single cool Jedi character you can imagine and have them all show up in one way or another, whether it's some kind of Force ghost thing where you've like a ghostly Palpatine and you've got like Mace Windu and Yoda and Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor and freaking Kit Fisto and Ki-Adi-Mundi, and they all show up and they're all like, wah, 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 like super, like basically Avengers Endgame when they say Cap on your left, and all of a sudden everybody you've ever loved. I mean, I'm talking like Revan. I'm talking Ahsoka. I'm talking Thrawn with a lightsaber, like crazy, silly fan service stuff. Now, that's too much. I know, I recognize that. But since I'm doing wish list stuff, right, like that's kind of the things. And if people are saying it was disappointing, I'm expecting I'm not going to get an Avengers Endgame style Cap on your left. Boom, everybody, things you haven't even imagined yet showed up. So I don't think I'm going to get that. And then the other thing is, I really, my favorite trope in most movies and I guess storytelling right now is this strong adversary who eventually becomes good. I really liked in Rebels. You had Fen Rao, who's this tough Mandalorian, eventually joined sides with the Rebels, and he was now a fearsome ally. I want Ben Solo to be redeemed to kind of fulfill that trope. And that's one of the things that I really, really want to see. I don't know if I'm going to get that. I'm not sure what to expect as far as, Rey and Kylo Ren. Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. As much as I do like the sequel trilogy, because, hey, it's more Star Wars, that's fine. While it is part of the Skywalker saga, there's certain characters that don't feel connected to Skywalker that I just don't really care about. Like Poe and Finn and Rey, I just don't care that much about them. I know they're like the main characters, and I just don't care as much as maybe I ought to about them. Maybe that's normal because maybe the movies are still too new. Maybe it's going to take 10 or 20 years of merchandise and advertising to get me to care about them. I don't like hate them or anything. I just don't feel that invested. Like if this movie ends and it really feels like it's just a Poe, Finn and Ray conclusion, then I'm gonna really feel underwhelmed because that's the same vibe I get from all the new Star Wars books. They spent this whole time just talking about this new character, and like I just don't care. Like Force Collector was the last one I read, and it's all about this dude, and I'm like I just don't care about. You didn't make me care about this guy. Out of all of them, Finn was the one I cared the most about, especially in episode 7. And then he got a lightsaber, and it was really, really cool, because he didn't know what he was doing, and like I really liked that. And then they didn't give him a lightsaber again, so that's one thing I also really, really want out of 9 is for Finn to pick up a lightsaber again. And I don't know if I'll get that. I wanted that in episode 8. I didn't get that there, but I really want that in 9. If not a lightsaber, then maybe nunchucks. I mean, of course, I'd always be down for anybody to hold nunchucks. But I think Finn would do really well with nunchucks. But anyway, so the point is, there's a lot of negative, a lot of disappointment that's coming out of the early reviews. It may be that a lot of these people had their expectations really high after Endgame. Some people, I would have thought a lot of people would have had their expectations really low. And so that's where I am a little worried, and I shouldn't be worried though, because let's be honest, I preach this sometimes, first world problems. If your Star Wars isn't good enough, that's a first world problem. I'm really glad to have running water and electricity. Like, those are great things. I'm really, really glad that my kids don't have to worry about bullets flying through the house. Like my kids can sleep at night. I'm really glad that we have a roof over our heads. I really want to like put my complaining or my worries in context here. They're very slim, right? I'm glad that we have Star Wars, that we have new Star Wars coming out in all different formats: comic books, TV shows, movies, soundtracks, games, miniatures, toys, accessories, collectibles, hoodies, Star Wars Celebration, cool conventions. Like, we got Star Wars all over the place. All right, so I'm going to get to some of the questions here. I'm going to get to some of the comments because I'm seeing mixed reviews from some of you, and some of you are saying it's incredible. So that's cool. But yeah, let's see. There's a whole lot in here. I'm going to try and get to everything. Oh my goodness, there's quite a few. Let's see. So some of you saying that you personally enjoyed it a lot. So that's cool. I'm really glad you did. I think it's going to be one of those subjective things where, like, if you were looking for very specific things, you might not get what you're specifically looking for. I definitely have heard that it won't please everybody. That's one of the biggest things that I've heard. Curious if you agree with that. Somebody here did not like The Last Jedi and really did not like this one. Things unanswered, I'm hearing. I'm like, okay. That maybe there's just certain things they're not going to answer. That's JJ doesn't always answer stuff. I do like, and all right, so let's talk about answering things and questions unanswered right now. Again, I'm not talking, if you're just tuning in, I'm not talking spoilers because I haven't seen the movie. I don't know any spoilers to give you. But I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the things I love about The Mandalorian, and that it's how it contrasts against the films. Episode 7, I actually really liked, and I probably need to go back and watch it again. I think after I see 9, I'll go back and watch 7 and then 8 again, and then go see 9 again in the theater. But I like that 7 set up a lot of questions. Name something that does please everyone. Yes, I will, Dan. The Mandalorian seems to please everyone, and by everyone, I'm gonna say 90% of people counts as everyone. Baby Yoda seems to please everyone. As a matter of fact, Terminator 2, that's a great one. That does please everyone, right? The Expanse, actually, I think pleases everyone too. Avengers Endgame pleased everyone. Of course, granted, when I'm saying everyone, there's always going to be outliers. But I mean, if you can please like 75% of your fan base, then I think you've done a good job. But yeah, the ending of Lost pleased like nobody, right? Like because they lied and said it wasn't going to be purgatory, and it was purgatory. But yeah, so Lost was weird. But I guess my point is, The Mandalorian kind of deals with his setup and answer of questions differently than the movies do. So in episode 7, it set up all these questions. And like, oh, Rey is important. Who is she? She's obviously very important. She has some kind of connection to Han Solo, and Maz Kanata knows who she is. Oh, she's super important. Who is she? Right? We've got all of that. Oh, we got Finn with a lightsaber. Oh, is Finn going to become a Jedi? You know, we got Captain Phasma. There's definitely some history there. We're going to get this awesome Phasma stuff. There's a lot of things. Who are the Knights of Ren? Oh my gosh, what's all this? Oh, Rey's gonna, Luke Skywalker. Oh, she finally found him. Is he gonna come back and go super ninja? Like a lot of questions asked, and a lot of things unanswered. Some things answered in Last Jedi. A lot of things unanswered, like who is Snoke? What are we gonna get? Snoke's backstory. Huge questions about Snoke. So we had to wait 2 years while asking those questions. We asked those questions for 2 years straight, and in the age of the internet, the community and people like myself, we all decided, hey, let's speculate on our answers. And so people as a whole decided to answer those questions. And the thing is, if you put some cool theory out there, fans are going to come up with cooler and cooler theories. As, oh, well, maybe this person, Snoke is Mace Windu. Oh yeah, Snoke is this person. Snoke is that person. Snoke is Rey's dad. Blah 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 blah. All this stuff. Then the movie comes out, and if it doesn't meet those expectations of 2 years worth of hype, and that was one of the pitfalls of Last Jedi. It didn't, or the few questions it didn't answer satisfactory, and everything else it just didn't answer at all. Like ignored a lot of that stuff. So that was one of those problems. So then transpose over to Mandalorian. It sets up questions. You only have to wait a week. A lot of the questions it sets up, it answers the very next episode. Some questions you have to wait 2 episodes for, but like it doesn't give you that much time to get bent out of shape. So when an answer comes, and for the most part, the answers in The Mandalorian have seemed very satisfactory to me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about The Mandalorian here. Like there's this whole thing that happened about the helmet, all right? Is the helmet, what do you mean you can never use your helmet? Like, I made a joke, but this would have no doubt turned into a fan theory that all Mandalorians were women now. Because if they were all men and they could never, ever remove their helmet, then they would all have beards like hanging out of their thing, and they would be going down to their belly, because they hadn't removed their helmet in like 20 years or more or something like that, right? How are you going to shave? You can't, obviously it was a joke, but like that could, if we had to wait 2 years for an answer, then that would have turned into like a serious theory. I have no doubts. And so, I always thought it was kind of cool. Like, what if, and we know Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian, but what if it really turned out like at the end, he finally takes it off and it's a woman the whole time. And then Pedro's like, yeah, guys, I had to keep that secret for a long time, but now you guys are in on the, on the surprise. It was like a Samus, the situation, all of that. So I just love that they're not making us wait. And so and the answer was very satisfactory. He's like, no, it's not that, well, I can't ever take it off. I just don't take it off in front of another person. And so it was a satisfactory answer. It was given in a reasonable amount of time. And the TV show formula is working really, really good. And I absolutely love The Mandalorian. Although I will say it's kind of playing it a little safe. It's taking a few risks, and it's staying very true to certain tropes. I would love to see some things take more risks, and from what I've heard, this movie doesn't take as many risks, so we'll have to see. Again, I guess it depends on what kind of risk you want it to take. I really wish Disney as a whole would take more risks with Star Wars, and maybe it requires them to establish multiple universes. You've got the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all right, and then you've got the Marvel comic book universes, you've got this multiverse, you've got all these different universes, so you can tell. I want Disney to have, start making movies in the Legends universe again. Have entire new universe, come up with Universe 32, and Universe 32 is where Luke and Leia were flip-flopped at birth, and Luke went to Alderaan, Leia went to Tatooine, and you play out Episode 4 from then on out, and see the ripple effect, what all could change. Maybe tons of things don't change. Maybe the Death Star doesn't get blown up. I want to see, but keep moving forward with that universe. Now, since it's an entire alternate universe, you can do whatever you want with it. You can have the bad guys win. You can have universes where the Empire reigns and Palpatine becomes really old. What happens if Palpatine dies of old age and nominates a successor? What would have happened if Palpatine wasn't stopped? I want to see what ifs in a new universe. And maybe you start off just doing them in an animated style and see if they're successful, see how well received they are. I think the fact that they're doing that with Marvel is really cool, and hopefully that'll pave its way towards Star Wars. We can then go back into the Old Republic. What if Obi-Wan had said, he's dueling Anakin on Mustafar, and Anakin says, you're either with me or against me, and Obi-Wan's like, no, I'm with you, Anakin. You know what? You've fallen to the dark side, but you are my brother, and I will fall with you. And they join together. Like, what happens then? Right? You got two Dark Lords of the Sith. Palpatine's like, what? I got two new sons now? Come on, boys. We're going out for dinner. I'm buying you guys ice cream. And then what happened? Like, are they fully blown? Or now that Anakin's got Obi-Wan with him, does that keep him from going super evil? Right? And maybe they are like gray. And then they overthrow Palpatine from within. And then then they find their own way where they're like a little bit evil and a little bit good. Who knows? So anyway, so we're talking about episode 9, the early reactions. A lot of people have, I think it's late. A lot of people have basically had some negative reviews, disappointing reviews of the movie. And I think it's just important that we manage our expectations before we go in to see this movie. Now, I also think this lays to rest the idea that Disney buys positive publicity. I have been called a shill so many times because I liked The Last Jedi. Doesn't mean I can't give The Last Jedi criticism. I think the thing is, there's so many people that are like toxically negative. All right. It's okay to I love the idea of nitpicking. I will nitpick anything. I love Star Trek too. I'll nitpick Star Trek. Star Trek's really fun to nitpick. So absolutely love the idea of nitpicking. It's like, you know what, guys, but the whole thing with Holdo and the hyperspace ramming thing, that's a fun thing to nitpick about. Although I do think there's a really good universe and explanation, although they didn't fully recanonize it. But the whole idea is that the hyperspace tracking technology put part of that ship in hyperspace, and that's what allowed them to ram. Otherwise, you can't do it. That it solves everything with that theory, because that's why they won't use it again in the future. So this way, because otherwise that would break anybody ever trying to run away again for the rest of time. And 2, it would also stop ramming as a weapon from being, common again in the future. So if you're going to ram, it has to be slow. Like the way you rammed in Rogue One. That was maybe the greatest scene I have seen in the last decade on screen. Like that hammerhead colliding with the Star Destroyer and then the Star Destroyer colliding with the other Star Destroyer blows my freaking mind. It's the greatest thing I've seen. I absolutely love that. Well, greatest thing outside of maybe the last 20 minutes of Avengers Endgame. Because granted, I love Star Wars. I love science fiction more than the comic book stuff. But Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, especially Endgame, completely knocked it out of the park for me. It was just absolutely magnificent. And that's kind of what I was hoping that 9 was going to be. So I think the results of the early negative reviews is that I'm going to lower my expectations. I'm not expecting to be, because I love fan service. I would love to see little things in the background, like, oh, wait, was that Bosk walking around? Oh, wait, was that Boba Fett's armor in the background? Oh, was that Darth Vader's lightsaber? Oh, wait, what was that? And all of these little things, right? I love to see stuff like that. I love to see fan service, and if we can manage to get some fan service in this movie, that'd be great. But I don't think we'll ever get as much fan service as we got in Avengers Endgame. Like having just about every single character that's ever been in the MCU show up on screen at the same time was like fan service overload. And it definitely was great. So some of you are saying, I'm not trying to forget about the comments. Some of you are saying there are some Easter eggs to look out for. And I expect that. There was, J.J. Abrams had hinted about some of the Easter eggs we might see. I'll look for them. But I think it's one of those things that you're going to have to watch the movie multiple times. And I'm getting ready to wrap this live stream up. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you're joining me just late, we're talking about how the early reviews of Last Jedi were pretty negative. A lot of people were let down. And I haven't seen too many that straight up said it was awful. And I think it would be a challenge to try to make this movie awful with what you have to work with. But I think mediocrity is kind of the devil at this point. You don't want it to just leave people lukewarm. and I feel like it left a lot of people lukewarm. So lower your expectations. I am capable of enjoying any film if I just want to. If I want to go sit down and enjoy myself in the theater, uh, and and that's it. So, wow, some people really want more Solo movies. Here, oh, I'll transition. We'll talk about Solo 2 because I don't think they're gonna make Solo 2, but not in that format. But so you just wanted to say thanks. Oh, you're playing Armada and awesome. Well, thanks, Luke. I appreciate it. But I don't think they're gonna make a Solo 2 because I think where does Solo 2 or where does Solo leave off? Right, it's in between 1 and 3, kind of earlier on the side of 1, and but it's definitely long before the time of Star Wars Rebels. And Darth Maul is the leader of Crimson Dawn. He's at this height of power. The very next time we see him, he's now a vagabond who's dead set on revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi. Something happened to Darth Maul in that time frame, and it likely led to him having a newfound vendetta against Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we know they're making an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It makes perfect sense that Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to deal with at the timeline of when Solo 2 would normally have happened. So Obi-Wan is going to go after Maul, and I think that's going to cut, and that will have Kira in it, I'm sure, right? And so that's why I don't think they're going to do a Solo 2 because first off, I don't like any movie that's going to deal with Han Solo and Chewie and Lando because we know they're safe. We know they end up, we know how they end up, right? I don't need to see backstory, a whole movie about. I just don't like backstory because there's no stakes. What's the stakes? What are you gonna put them in danger? Are they gonna get into a gunfight? Oh, I wonder if he's gonna get killed. I have a hard time getting invested in that. And so maybe that's just me as a person. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy the movie. I mean, you could say the same thing about Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Is Obi-Wan Kenobi gonna be in danger? Is he gonna die? Of course not, because we know how it ends up. And that's kind of my, as a pet peeve. I wish they would just tell stories about different stuff, just go in totally new directions. And the only, really, for me, the last bastion for going forward in Star Wars with characters that we care about might be post Episode 9, but I think it's actually going to be Thrawn and Ezra and the crew from Rebels. I think that's the future of Star Wars. I think that's the direction they should go because their future is unwritten, and they can do a lot of stuff with it. And everybody cares about Thrawn. And a lot of people probably care about Ezra. You've got other fan favorite characters that went with them, like Jalad Pelion. You got Captain Pelion that's with them, right? And a lot of other stuff can happen. So Conor McGregor is not playing Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor. Did I say Conor? I did not say Conor McGregor. Did I say Conor McGregor? Oh my goodness. Now I don't know. I'm going to have to rewatch my video and see what I said. This is what happens when you do it live. You screw up and you start naming MMA fighters. But no. Okay, I didn't. Okay, thank you. That's all right. But yeah. So all right. So I don't think they're gonna make Solo 2 because Obi-Wan should do that. I'm hoping. So here's another thing too about Episode 9 is I think people are like, is it going to end with the First Order completely gone? I don't think so. I don't think so because they have this whole park. If the First Order completely gets 100% eliminated, like a Thanos snap, and they all turn to dust, then that's going to hurt Black Spire Outpost because then people won't want to go there. It won't be believable. Your immersion level is supposed to be very high at Black Spire Outpost. There has to be some First Order left over afterwards. In the same way that after Return of the Jedi, there were still some Imperials. Fractured maybe, vulnerable, but I think it has to end in a point where the fight can go on. There has to be a future to post Episode 9. Doesn't mean that it has to lead into Episode 10, although I would love it. I really hope Ben Solo gets redeemed and does not die. That's one of my hopes for this movie. But I need to limit those hopes because, again, who knows? But that's if that happens, I'll be extra happy because then there's a future. They could wait because they said this is the end, but again, money talks. If in 20 years Star Wars isn't doing so hot and they said, hey, we need another Skywalker saga, let's get Adam Driver to come back and play old man Ben Solo, the last descendant of Luke Skywalker or something like that, or the last descendant of Anakin Skywalker, not Luke Skywalker. But my point is, if they want to do that, then they'll have the right. So Yeah, and just if you're just joining us, I have not seen the movie yet. No spoilers, please. Respect everybody else in the chat. But you know, we'll probably do a live stream this weekend, maybe Saturday or Sunday night. I don't think I may do a Mando chat. I'm not sure. I honestly might. I'm not sure what's going to happen because I've been doing Mando chats on Sunday nights. I'll usually have a guest, and we'll talk about the most recent Mandalorian episode. And I think that's definitely something we need to do. Probably do a Mando chat this Sunday, and might split it in half and also talk about Rise of Skywalker. But I think I'll wait until midweek to talk about Rise of Skywalker, because I want to see it. I think everybody should probably see it twice before we sit down and talk about it, so you'll be able to have a better idea. Again, you got to like it enough the first time to see it twice. I have every confidence that you know, at least most Star Wars fans will probably still at least be able to see it twice. I don't think it's going to be that bad that you're like, oh, couldn't possibly watch it again. You know, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. I'm hoping that Adam Driver is like his character is still alive so that he can come back in like 10 or 20 years and do like an old man Ben Solo if you know, if the market calls for it, if Disney decides they want it. And I'm okay with taking a long time. I'm okay with taking a very, very long time in between episodes. Like, you know, if they're gonna make an episode 10, let's get away from that for a little bit. Let's go ahead and start doing, you know, more TV stuff, more standalone movies. Let's do some Old Republic stuff. I would love to do some. I don't even know what you're saying. So anyway, I would love to see some more Old Republic stuff. I would love to see that in a Game of Thrones style. So either way, regardless of, you know, to bring this all full circle and to kind of wrap up the stream here. Even if you're disappointed in Episode 9, even if it's not everything that you want it to be, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. There's so much new stuff coming out. They're making Fallen Order 2, so Jedi Fallen Order's coming out. There's new books coming out all the time, new TV stuff all the time. Mandalorian is fantastic by just about anybody's standards. And the fact that Disney has made amazing Star Wars content already, like Rogue One and The Mandalorian, they've made some amazing Star Wars content. I'm thankful for that. They get a pass on making a mediocre Star Wars movie or two. They get a pass on that from me. I'm sorry, they just do, because they made amazing stuff. Also, Star Wars Rebels was amazing. I mean, I'm sorry that it was. We got Clone Wars coming out in February. So I mean, there's so much Star Wars. It's okay if something is, you know, if something doesn't please you, you know. And maybe it'll be something that you watch a couple of times. Like, it took me my third viewing of Last Jedi until I really said, this is a great movie. Flawed, but great. So, you know, it's not perfect. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that this movie's perfect. But what the things it does really well, it does really well. And I've heard also the argument that The Last Jedi would have been a great movie to just conclude the saga with, because like having Luke Skywalker go out like a pacifist, like a true Jedi. Like, you know, I was watching Empire Strikes Back the other day, and like when Yoda's teaching him, he's like, "A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack." And like, okay, that's cool, because we see the Jedi attack an awful lot in like the Clone Wars and everywhere else in the prequels all the time. And Luke was just like, no, I'm not going to attack. I'm doing it for knowledge and defense. I'm going to try and apologize, and I'm going to try and dodge your attacks. It was perfect. It was ultra Jedi. I think we've forgotten what that really means. So, you know, there's Last Jedi did a lot of really cool things. It had its flaws too, but it's okay. They get a pass. You know, if 9 is disappointing, then I'm going to focus that much more on whatever comes next. On The Mandalorian. Mandalorian's getting a season 2. We get a series finale in about another week and a half for Mandalorian. Then we're going to get Clone Wars. Then we're going to get Fallen Order 2. You know, we're going to get, we got more stuff for Star Wars Legion coming out. We got Clone Wars for Star Wars Armada coming out next year. We've got more X-Wing stuff coming out in January. A ton more Legion of stuff. We got Star Wars RPG books coming out all the time. There's a ton of sci-fi. And then also we got Star Trek. We got Star Trek Picard coming out. Also, if you guys are going to be in LA and are interested in going to the Star Trek Picard premiere, stay tuned, because I might have a giveaway. I might have 2 tickets for the premiere to Star Trek Picard. courtesy of some friends at Odyssey Radio. So stand by, stay close, click that subscribe button, and I will probably do an announcement about that in the next couple of days once I find out. Star Trek Picard is debuting. The premiere is going to be in January in LA. So if you are able to make it to the premiere in LA, then let me know. But I'll probably make a separate video and we'll talk about that, and you can let me know in the comments, or I might do it on Facebook or Twitter, which would probably be a better place to actually get a list of names of people who are interested, and then I can have a drawing and something like that. So, but still waiting on the final details on that, on exactly how that's going to work, because it'll probably be like an email thing. So, all right, well, that's it. I'm going to wrap things up, and the next time I talk to you guys, I will have seen episode 9, and then we can do I'll do probably a review, and my review will probably start out without spoilers, and then halfway through I'll be like, okay, here's where the spoilers start, guys, and then we'll start talking about all the rest. That's probably how I'm going to do it, and if you'd like to see that, I invite you to click that little subscribe button, click the bell for alerts. I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the comments. Thanks for all the optimism. I think it's going to be a good time regardless, and for all you guys that loved it, awesome. I appreciate it. All right, I will talk to you guys later. See ya. May the Force be with you. Have a great day.